Join us on Patreon and become part of our journey to uncover history's untold stories. Your support helps us create in-depth content, bring hidden narratives to life, and keep history alive for everyone.
History is often written by those who wield the greatest power, and in the process, many voices are silenced, forgotten, or intentionally erased. Among those lost stories lies the legacy of the Black Powhatan, a people whose history remains shrouded in obscurity despite their profound influence on early America. Their existence is one that defies the conventional narratives of European colonization, indigenous resistance, and African enslavement. The truth of their past reveals a tapestry of cultural intermingling, shared struggles, and a legacy that has been buried under centuries of historical erasure. Imagine the forests and shores of what is now Virginia, stretching wide with a richness of untamed beauty. Long before the arrival of English settlers, the Powhatan Confederacy thrived across this land, its people deeply connected to the rivers, forests, and the spirits of their ancestors. Within this vast domain, however, a lesser-known but equally significant community flourished, one that carried the bloodlines of both indigenous Americans and Africans, weaving together a unique heritage that would later be ignored, denied, or rewritten. Who were the Black Powhatan? How did they come to exist within the intricate web of America's earliest histories? What was their fate as European dominance reshaped the land? This is a story of resilience, survival, and loss, a history hidden in plain sight but never fully extinguished. The Powhatan Confederacy, at its height, was one of the most powerful native political and military entities in North America. Led by the formidable Chief Powhatan, or Wahunsinkah, this alliance of over 30 Algonquian-speaking tribes ruled much of the Virginia Tidewater region. They had established a structured society based on agriculture, trade, and a deep spiritual connection to their land. It was within this environment that the presence of Africans became a reality, much earlier than mainstream history acknowledges. By the time European colonists arrived in the early 17th century, the Powhatan had already developed a complex socio-political system. They had a network of villages with organized leadership, religious customs, and an economy that thrived on trade. However, with the advent of the transatlantic slave trade, African captives found themselves introduced into the indigenous landscape, forging new identities, relationships, and survival strategies among the Powhatan people. Long before the first official English settlement in Jamestown in 1607, Africans had already touched American shores. Spanish and Portuguese explorers had brought enslaved Africans to the New World, and some of them managed to escape, integrating into indigenous communities. The eastern seaboard, particularly the Chesapeake Bay area, became a place where Africans and Native Americans came into contact, sharing knowledge and forming new societies. Historical records suggest that shipwrecks, trading expeditions, and early colonial settlements contributed to the presence of Africans among the Powhatan tribes. Some Africans were enslaved by the Spanish and later freed by Native American groups who rejected European domination. Others were brought by English colonists and either escaped into the wilderness or were accepted into native communities through marriage, adoption, or mutual alliances. Over time, a distinct identity emerged, one that was both Powhatan and African, shaped by the fusion of two resilient cultures. The merging of African and Powhatan bloodlines created a unique demographic, often referred to in colonial records as mulatto or mixed-blood individuals. However, these labels fail to capture the depth of their identity. To the Powhatan, kinship and community defined one's status, not merely skin color. Those who lived among them, spoke their language, and upheld their customs were considered part of the tribe, regardless of their ancestry. European colonists, however, sought to impose rigid racial classifications, viewing mixed-race individuals as problematic anomalies that threatened the emerging colonial order. As the English expanded their settlements, they sought to categorize and control the population through laws that restricted the rights of both indigenous and African-descended peoples. Despite these efforts, the Black Powhatan continued to thrive, resisting attempts at erasure. By the mid-17th century, the Powhatan Confederacy had begun to weaken due to continuous warfare, disease, and the encroachment of English settlers. With the arrival of more European colonists, the balance of power shifted drastically. The once dominant Powhatan were forced into treaties that diminished their land and autonomy. For the Black Powhatan, this period marked an era of increasing marginalization. Colonial laws prohibited intermarriage between indigenous and African peoples, stripping them of legal recognition. Many were forced into slavery or servitude, while others were absorbed into either Black or Native communities, losing their distinct identity in the process. Yet, Despite these systematic efforts at erasure, the descendants of the Black Powhatan endured. They adapted, resisted, and carried their heritage forward, even as their history was rewritten or forgotten. Today, the story of the Black Powhatan is one that remains largely untold, hidden beneath layers of colonial narratives. Descendants of these communities continue to seek recognition, tracing their heritage through oral traditions, family records, and the fragments of history left behind in colonial archives. Their story is a testament to the resilience of a people who, despite all odds, refuse to disappear. The legacy of the Black Powhatan challenges the rigid racial divisions imposed by colonial rule and underscores the fluidity of identity in early America. It serves as a reminder that history is complex, nuanced, and often inconvenient for those who seek to simplify the past. By reclaiming this lost history, we honor not only the Black Powhatan but also the countless others whose stories have been buried. Their legacy is one of strength, defiance, and survival, a legacy that deserves to be remembered and celebrated.